Following Crawford's stoppage win over Spence last year in a deal with PBC, a contractual rematch was supposedly in the works. Many months passed, however, and no formal arrangements for rematch was ever announced. According to Coppinger, Spence opted to have cataract surgery a few months after their fight, a decision that has now ultimately caused the time to expire on the rematch deal with Crawford. So Crawford became free to pursue eagerly anticipated showdown, became the first fighter to hold all of the recognized world titles at welterweight since 1986, when Lloyd Honeyghan stopped Donald Curry at Caesars Atlantic City to capture the WBA, WBC, and IBF belts in one of the great upsets in British boxing. Well, Crawford didn't exactly give Errol Spence a promise even back then. Terence Crawford made it clear to me that his primary focus was on Israel Madrimov, whom he'll face on August 3rd at the BMO Center in Los Angeles. Only when he was asked about a potential rematch with Terence Crawford has recently grown in popularity after his win over Spence. He has one of the most decorated resumes in the sport. He has titles in 4 weight classes and the undisputed title in 2 different weight classes. Throughout his run,
you know, he said the Jose Benavidez fight was probably the toughest fight of his career. And I think you said back in the day you had your way with him in sparring. Is there anything to take away from that or that you take away from it?
Nah, not at all. I mean, it was a good fight. He fought a one-legged Jose Benavidez, and it was the toughest fight of his career. That says a lot.
What does it say?
In clearly asserting himself as the better of the 2 fighters, Crawford battered his man in one-sided fashion until the bout mercifully ended in the 9th round. After the fight, Crawford reigned supreme as undisputed welterweight champion for a short time before eventually moving up to junior middleweight. At the moment, it looks like Crawford will be facing the one and Errol Spence has just fired shots at Terence Crawford for ducking him in a rematch and going for Canelo Alvarez instead. Errol Spence had posted a subtle tweet on his X account where he accused Crawford of breaking their rematch agreement and going ahead to fight Canelo instead. It came as a shock to the entire...
I'm walking over my feet. You know, I want to get out the game. I got kids, got a mom and dad, and you know, they want to enjoy me. So, you know.
In order to face those names, however, Spence will have to officially come back. He will also likely take a tune-up on his return to the fight game. Not that he could be faulted for it. Provided he decides to retire, however, Spence shouldn't be criticized for his decision. 23, which saw Bud Crawford deliver a pretty one-sided beatdown on the truth. Since then, Spence Jr. has failed to make a comeback. The former unified welterweight champion had the option to invoke a rematch clause against Crawford, but chose not to pursue it. Broader boxing world, who had jumped at the idea of a Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez super fight in September, and how the fight was going to save boxing from the mediocrity that has characterized it in recent times, have disagreed with him. That includes boxing trainer Kevin Cunningham, who responded to Crawford's comments, writing, "In my opinion, Errol Spence Jr. has done enough to eventually get into the Hoff Olympian, 3 world titles at welterweight, and was top 4 pound for pound." This is the same sentiment echoed by Erickson Lubin as well.
Definitely, it was exciting. The whole build up to it and leading up to it too. So it's something that, you know, I wouldn't change for nothing. And I'm definitely open to the rematch, and hopefully it'll be at 154 pounds.
I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. You know, like everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. You know.
Do you not think Spence will be in the Hall of Fame?
Right now? No, how?
Yeah, he's right, dude. He's right.
How? You know, he fought in one division. You know,
he never unified the belts.
He unified.
He did unify.
Then the Canelo Alvarez option at that point until Crawford switched it up. And this is what has forced Errol Spence into his unending rant on social media. However, boxing fans feel their first fight wasn't close enough for a rematch, and Errol Spence is only ranting because he wants that kind of payday once more. Fortunately, Errol Spence Jr. had something else in mind. In his tweet, he questioned why Terence Crawford didn't come get him again, posting a clip of their...
He unified.
Was it?
He had 3. He had the
but he
WBC,
didn't unify by 4.
WBA,
He wasn't
IBF.
undisputed.
Huh?
He
No,
wasn't
no,
undisputed.
he wasn't. No, but what I'm saying is, they already called him a weight bully, right? He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. You know, he beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
Like I said,
First thing I did to myself was drinking. If you're an athlete, focus on the end goal. Hopefully it's a better situation for you and your loved ones. Apart from his defeat against Crawford, Spence has had a stellar career. However, his last performance, many have doubted his ability to beat his opponents at various stages, but Crawford has always proven them wrong. However, Erickson Lubin isn't convinced Crawford has really accomplished anything. No disrespect, but I don't think Crawford really fought anyone. Press conference where Crawford was insulting Spence and promising him a serious beating. You speak so much, yet duck when it matters most.
I mean, it could happen. I mean, why not? If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great. You know, so you know what I'm saying, I'm with it. So you know, I'll be going for Bud. You know, if he fight Canelo.
With a rematch, interestingly, it was said that after the cancellation of their rematch last year, talks began months later. And Crawford had even honored interviews where he claimed to be open for a rematch for Errol Spence. In fact, that seemed like a more possible option. Lubin wrote, responding to Crawford's comments about Errol Spence Jr.'s chances of getting into the Boxing Hall of Fame. Moving up weight classes and stopping 11 by 12 is what we should credit him for, though. That being said, Terence Crawford seems to have found himself at the center of controversy, and that's all for now.
you know what I mean? That's a good win. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him or, you know,
I understand
things like that, but I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got, right?
Ha 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 ha! Errol needs the money, guys. No way in this world would you want to fight a guy that almost killed you in the ring when you had a 50 fight! Now it's a 90-10 fight, and you think you stand any chance against him. Your first fight after getting slaughtered, opponent in his return. Two-weight undisputed champion Terence Crawford seems to have found himself in some controversy after his recent comments about his former opponent, Errol Spence Jr. The pair went toe-to-toe against each other back in 20 years ago, and you want to return to your slaughterer. In fact, some fans were merciless in their trolls, advising him to desist from getting into the ring with Terence Crawford, not even after a 2-month break, except he's ready for something worse than the car crash he had years ago.
I want to fight him coming off an accident like that, because when I beat him, then y'all gonna say it was because of the accident.
Right.
He fight. He beat Danny Garcia. I was in the crowd. I said, nah, he can't beat me. That's the first time I seen Spence fight live. I said.
So you knew then when you seen that?
I'm like yeah, because you know it's different on TV than when you watching it up close in person.
Former wants another crash from a punch and another cataract surgery. This isn't the best way to commit suicide, bro. Just get a tune-up and get back. You're good, no doubts, but Terence may be too much of an experiment right now. Fundora, Thurman, and Tim are good guys. Another said, Errol seems to learn nothing from Tim Titsu. The guy got off in almost 2 years after all. What's more, Spence is 35 years old. Not exactly old by modern standards, but no spring chicken either. The truth is that even now, a return to the ring would guarantee Spence much attention as well as much money. There are some potential big-name opponents after all. Keith Thurman comes to mind, as does Tim Tszyu.
I don't know if he's gonna win or lose, but I definitely be going Crawford. I think if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off. He's chasing greatness, so why not? Canelo came up to 175 and all that, and fought Kovalev and fought the other guy too. So I mean, if he can do it, and he started at 147. So I mean, if he's doing it, why can't Crawford do it?
Later elaborating on his point, Crawford explained, like, he fought in one division. He unified 3 belts. They already called him a weight bully, right? He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, eye injury. Crawford acknowledged Spence's win over Sean Porter, but didn't think it. Someone else thinks Spence should consider leaving PBC, claiming the agency doesn't seem to be the best place for boxing talents anymore. Little wonder why all Errol Spence's proposed fights have been ending during the contract talks. Leave PBC, bro. Get out of there. It's not what it used to be.
Have a fish fry come Saturday. Man, you gotta calm down, brother. Cause listen, man, things can get real sticky real quick, and then everybody would say, this is what we do every time we come out. This is what we do when we come out. Social media.
Considered, Spence has had a treacherous go of things, successful but treacherous. With that being said, Spence is still likely to come back. He's a fighter after all, and fighters fight. Provided he's in good enough physical condition to return, it will be good to see him back. A brutal, bloody fight against Fundora after he fought with a wounded head for about 8 rounds and eventually had his first loss. But instead of taking a break off boxing and getting a tune-up, he took up another great challenge that messed him up. This is even worse for Spence. Crawford will kill him. It was enough. That's a good win. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him or anything like that. I honestly don't know if he'll make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he got right now. While there's some substance to Crawford's point, fans and experts alike
got the confidence to come out there and just be like, okay, well, even the skills to say, all right, let me see how you gonna take a punch to the chin. Let me see how you gonna take a punch to the body. Let me see how you gonna react when you can't bully somebody around.
Good, I just hit the ball.
Okay. So my mind was, you know what I mean, it was racing a little bit. And I was like, man, how should I come out? And it was like, man, just come out boxing.
To be anymore. Get with Turkey and let him give you good fights. And don't go near Crawford. That beast is gonna rip your heads off, man. The last comment read, I know Crawford called this fight around when he fought Madrimov. Maybe he shouldn't have put Spence's hopes high and just ignore him that way. More recently, he was in talks for a fight against WBC and WBO super welterweight champion Sebastian Fundora, but even that never materialized after several delays. This caused many to believe Spence was never coming back to the ring. Crawford, on the other hand, rose clause in their initial contract. Crawford felt there was unfinished business to settle against Spence. And because Crawford dominated the first meeting, he would enter a prospective rematch as a significant favorite. The only question posed when talking about a potential...
Listen, just like you talking, just like you doing all that talking, bro, it can turn deadly real quick. But on both sides, so why not support, listen, why not support your fighter? Support your fighter. You ain't got...
It's been to new heights. The Nebraskan is now scheduled to square off against Canelo Álvarez in September later this year. I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't, Crawford said during the podcast. Like everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. Errol Spence Jr. The possibility is there, Crawford said. Spence is fighting Sebastian Fundora for his titles. I'm fighting for a title, and there is the possibility. He wins his fight, God willing, and I win my fight, God willing, and there's the possibility.
Along my career, I've been criticized, and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments, just off of pure hate. So what would they be able to say with me going up 2 weight classes?
People say, oh, well, maybe it was the weight or whatever the case is. What do you think about that? Like, talking about the weight at 154?
Well, I wasn't worried about that. I felt stronger than him. I felt that I punched harder than him. I felt as if I hurt him many of times in the fight.
Spence was the unified welterweight champion prior to his loss to Terence Crawford. He held the WBA, WBC, and IBF titles at that time. Spence was the unified champion between 2017 and 2023. While he hasn't fought in close to 2 years, Spence is still 34, and fans can expect a big name of Crawford-Spence rematch is whether the latter will be a different fighter competing at 154 pounds. The weight cut seemed to impact both fighters at this stage of their careers, but Spence looked the most worse for wear at the weigh-ins and even during the fight.
But I just felt like, he came prepared and he was ready and he fought a good fight.
Yeah.
He was awkward, he was patient, he was determined, he stuck to his game plan, and he did what he had to do to make it to last battle.
Spence met Crawford in the ring a few years back. Their fight was essentially considered to be a coin toss, so equally skilled the two men seemed. Then came the opening bell of their welterweight title unification bout. It was all downhill for Spence from there.
I'll be going for him.
To whatever fights he so chose, with no strings specifically attached to neither a promoter nor network. Crawford had been angling for a fight against Canelo, but Canelo hadn't been very receptive to the idea, as he believed there's no real upside for him in that kind of matchup. Our unified welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. is in boxing limbo. While he hasn't explicitly announced retirement from the sport, there doesn't seem to be any plans for his return either, having already spent nearly 2 years on the sideline.
A lot of people say, oh, well, he's money hungry, he's looking at money and he's trying to cash out and this and that. I've been getting money for years. I've been getting millions for years.
Yeah.
And I'm not stupid with my money.
Right.
As you can see, I don't buy no Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and walk around with 100 people around me and got all this jewelry that I done bought. Like, I don't do all that stuff.
Terence Crawford administered a shocking beatdown of Errol Spence in their long-awaited unification bout on Saturday night, becoming the first undisputed welterweight champion in nearly 4 decades, while staking a credible claim as the world's best fighter regardless of weight. Crawford knocked down Spence in the 2nd round and twice more in the 7th before refereeing his name into history with an extraordinary exhibition of power, precision, and ring generalship that made an elite opponent look like a novice. Crawford, a former champion at 135 pounds and 140 pounds, who went off as a slight favorite in Saturday's eagerly anticipated...
He got caught. He should have boxed a little bit more, but things happen. You gotta learn from it.
Only Canelo Alvarez in an odd but legitimate super fight. And Spence, the likable Texan, hasn't been seen in the ring since his crushing 2023 loss to Crawford. Indeed, it's been a while. The question now isn't even when Spence will return to action, but if he will return to action.
Listen.
Fans are starting to wonder whether the truth will ever grace the ring again. Not all that long ago, he was considered one of the best fighters on earth, an undefeated titleist with thudding power and mass appeal. Then came Terence Crawford, before Errol Spence.
Has crazy power that he believes in. He has a great chin too, because he's a guy, he'll let you get out punches.
Harvey Doc intervened at the 2:32 mark of round 9. No one in the sold-out crowd of 19,990 at the T-Mobile Arena would have protested if he'd stepped in sooner. Saw a rise in the number of critics. Some fans have suggested that Spence doesn't have it in him anymore. This recently prompted a reaction from Spence as he wrote on X, formerly Twitter. Some of y'all use "he washed" to loosely post y'all mama so you can see what washed really is. The matchup between undefeated American stars more than 5 years in the making was billed as the best fight that boxing could deliver. But after an opening round that unfolded on even terms, it quickly spun into little more than a platform for Crawford's generational talent. The 35-year-old Nebraskan stamped his...
Hold his head up, it's a learning experience. You just bounce back from it. It's about how you come back and how you show people that, that having young in your career, and some of you got...
While boxing is a tough sport after all, tough and dangerous. And Spence took a terrible beating at the gloved fists of Crawford. Wars against the likes of Kell Brook may have taken some wear and tear out of Spence as well. And then there was the major accident that almost killed him to be taken into consideration. All things, Errol Spence has now revealed on social media that the worst thing he has done as an athlete was drinking. Spence's social media post also drew a reaction from Gervonta Davis, who fights Lamont Roach tonight. Worst. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.